All right, good morning, everybody. It's Andrew with Market Profile Advisory. Off to another day here trading in the Market Profile room. I want to thank everyone that's attending here live. If you are catching this on recording, make sure to have a look at the link at the bottom of the screen to join the trade room. Been sharing some information in the charts here, but let's take a quick look. For those that are maybe new to the streams or watching this on recording, there's a couple things to take note here. One, I've been getting questions about how can I get alerted of when you make chats in the room. If you go to the upper left of the trade room and you go to preferences, you can go in here and select notifications, and then you can select what room you want notifications on. It can be, I mean, the rooms are not too overly active, as many people are just kind of leaning on my updates, but as we grow as a community, I'm sure they will get more active. Usually you might just want alerts on direct messages or mentions, or if you want a specific room, but that's a spot to check out. Also, there is a downloadable on the App Store for EchoFin. You just type in our name, Market Profile Advisory as your team and your certain logins, and you can get notifications that way. Maybe you check if an admin or instructor puts an update in, you can see updates on your phone. It's a pretty handy little app. Yesterday, for those that didn't attend live or maybe saw in the recording, we had a great breakout to the upside. Trying to just see where this had started. If you look at this chart, you can see essentially had kind of this is the 30-second opening chart, broke out through this 2901. We're looking at 15-minute top boxes on TAS tools at 02 half, and it had a little shakiness, at the kind of 9 o'clock, 9:15 hour. But once we really got through this 2910, we called out as kind of like a high resistance area based on kind of the sell-off from the overnight. It took off, and then when we got through, I just want to show a couple of these profile charts. When we started getting these big selling coming in, this big buying support that came in, these big circles are the Jigsaw tool showing buying. I call it imbalances, more buying than selling, aggressive buying that's hitting the offer at this 29, 18, 20 area. We really use that as support to take off. So I wanted to share that. It was a great upside move for those that are followed in the room. But what goes up sometimes comes down. And if you take a look at the overnight, we did pull back below 2,900. Let me get this drawing tool up and running here. And we talked about on the, I didn't really give any overnight updates or anything like that in the trading room. It was a good day. Had some other things to take care of. When you have a nice day like, there's always going to be, in my opinion, trades in the market, and you learn to walk away when you catch something good, because the stress of being in front of the screen definitely weighs on you. And if you hit some daily targets on your trading, walk away, because there's going to be another opportunity. So in the overnight, when we traded back down through this, we talked about this 25, 24, 18 area. There's a lack of volume there, and it's still kind of in place. And when we traded right back through it on the way up, it quickly moved through there again. So if we get back down to 24, 25, I think it could be kind of a quick move back to 14, maybe in this 2908, 2910. As we highlighted in the prep, 09 quarter, 09 half is the high volume node of this week, right around this 2910. So when we broke out, came back down quick through this level, popped back up through this level pretty quick. This is where we're watching pretty closely yesterday, saying, hey, this is where we're either going to pivot off this bottom box, given this action where bears could get it done and rotate back down, or the traditional breakout of a value area break to the upside. And we had a lot of supportive bullish Jigsaw levels that we were holding on right around this area. And when we talked about it could be a quick move down, and then when it broke that high volume area, it continued to run to the downside, and of course triggering other information in the middle of the night. But again, that level, and why I tell people, just because a big level comes in play, big volume, and it works, it's there and then it's gone, doesn't mean it's still not going to be something of value. And that's kind of why I wanted to show that big volume that came in. Once it breached, did the same thing. A lot of information happened through there again, but this volume hole was still kind of maintained, and we broke out, and we have the support at 25, 24, and we're trying to get through this 36. So a lot of the prep charts that I show some different time frames. Right now we're looking at this big selling that came in and us putting pressure through this. These red circles, I'll point them out and I'll say big sellers, because the way that the Jigsaw tool works is and for those that aren't familiar with it, just watch a couple webinars that Peter puts on, some basic ones. This is recognizing aggressive selling. People that are, when you're seeing a bid and ask at the market, markets got bids here and asks here, this is a price ladder. When you hit a market order, it hits the bids, okay? It fills this up. So when you're saying sell at market, it's filling those bids up. And when you click on these little circles, it'll actually show you the imbalance. I don't need to click on them because I don't really dive in that far. I just like to know where they occur. These aren't crazy large imbalances, but it's before the open, but it's a level where sellers are aggressively selling. That means they're hitting bids with their selling, and it's absorbing it. And you're only seeing 59 buys at that price. So the system recognizes it's imbalance to the sell side. So selling pressure, aggressive selling, not passive. Passive would be limit order. Someone that's actually clicking the mouse saying, give me short, give me short. Maybe it's getting out of a trade. You never know, but it's big volume that comes in. So when you see that, what are their intentions? If there's big lots coming in, they're intending it to probably sell off. So if it doesn't work, and this is how I use the tool, and just like this big buying that came in near this kind of uptick, they're expecting to break out and move the market higher. When that fails, it gets behind them, they're maybe feeling under pressure. And maybe this was a coincidence that this got under pressure. Now sellers are stepping in, trying to take out these technical lows. When it gets behind them, I'll draw lines just to kind of let you know, like, hey, this is kind of that pivot spot. It's never going to hold to the tick. Sometimes it does, but that's where they're starting to feel uneasy and imbalance, and maybe upside pressure will come in. And here, we try to get up to this new high. Buyer absorbed. Often going to happen. See that on a failed breakout. Buyer absorbed. If you were long from below and you see that, you know that, hey, these big buyers, bigger than me, trying to break this market, maybe they're failing. Maybe this is going to retrace back down. Maybe you peel some off, because this could lead to definitely challenging as far as you need. Seems to be holding support here on this high volume spot. So found some support there, and now we're kind of going through this process again. There's no silver bullet, folks. There's no guarantee when or will they not work. It's a combination of kind of recognize this and knowing that, all right, their sellers are stepping in, but they're failing. Buyers are stepping in, but they're failing, and using that to scale out some of your trade or look for position adds. So we have these sellers that came in right here defending this spot, and we've got the open now. So now we're probably going to get more volume and more activity than we had up until the open of this session. So if we start getting above this 36, I do think that there's going to be shorts that came in that are defending this level that are feeling uneasy. It'll probably attract new buying too. And if you get more big blue buying at this spot that's coming in, we know that we have to have a short leash on that. It doesn't mean it won't work. It could pull down and test it again, but you need to just kind of recognize that. For those that always ask, I have my circle tuner to 4 on this Jigsaw tool to kind of filter out some of the noise, because there's definitely, if this was on a 1, this would be all imbalances. On the pre-market prep, I highlighted a couple different time frames, a couple different charts, and we'll go through those in just a minute. Trying to change this real quick. This is the 15-minute chart. We talked about, highlighted a hypothetical on a break of this top box. We'll see if this can continue to work higher. 2940 is a daily top box. And what jumps out to you when you see this chart? Well, we've got this kind of big lack of volume here, okay? That jumps out to me. We had a magenta exhaustion warning on Navigator. We are at 29, so almost 30 on Navigator, which is close to being overbought. See, we're seeing this breakout work a little bit in our favor, 4 or 5 points. This could easily just come back down and take out this 31 and run all the way back down to maybe this 28, where the true selling pressure came in and put pressure on them. So 32 is kind of this technical low. So we have this point of control around 32, and that's where we talked about we may see hypothetical breakdown into this this kind of volume. I call it a volume hole. We're seeing high volume here and high volume here. Usually you could draw like a fib kind of retracement to see where. Let me try to grab this real quick. Where 50% of that move would be. That could maybe be your target number 1 around this 22, 23 area. On a breakdown through this would be kind of 50%, something like that. Now, I'm not saying I'm using that as a fibs, as the Fibonacci retracement tool, as a means to find levels. It just quickly calculates into this volume hole. If we're going to get a 50% move down in here, that could be a good target area to watch. Handy little way to calculate some of those trades. So we were poised to try to take out 2940, and this is the open. This is the day session on the left. We just opened up, took out this naked POC from that was in play for a while that we watched yesterday, that traded right up to it and couldn't break. And then we have this point of control here on this chart at 30 quarter. So if 30 quarter breaks right here, we may see us work our way down to this close of 23. We also have yesterday's extended session around 31 quarter. The true target of what we need to break to the upside for the bulls around this 43 to 46, and then take out this 64 from on the 28th. That's kind of the upside targeting on this to the upside. It's not going to be, nothing's ever guaranteed or easy to do or clean. We're at some levels that have shown some resistance. Let me see if there's anything else we want to watch here. 30-second opening. We have a 4 3/4 range. It's starting to work through that 30 area we just talked about and picking up a little bit of pace back through point of control. So when this moved higher and through this little pop here, it didn't get any other new buying or selling to anchor to. It's kind of a failed breakout. We talked about if it started getting below 32, 31, 30, we may see some downside momentum coming in. 24, 25 was a previous level that we're kind of watching here. 26.5 is this bottom box on 15 minutes. So we just got hit with more selling that may show a little pop here. But if we start getting through this 25, 26, at least look for 22 to maybe come down and trade to. All right, so we saw this breach, and we're kind of seeing if this 24, 25 or this close, this 23 area, how it's going to react if we get there. We've got the overnight open around 29.20. There's a lot of support below here, okay? As we talked about, if it kind of quickly gets through. Here, let's look at down to maybe this 21 quarter, which is this is extended session value area high, this 21. And then we have kind of two point of controls in line with this 12-10 area. So this shows yesterday how we traded up, couldn't breach this, pulled back down. See if this 23, 24 area is going to hold. "30-minute time frame. We're on this point of control here. This is kind of that bit of that volume hole that we talked about. If we get through this 22, maybe we get down to this 13 area. So this is the kind of breakout to the upside, which failed to get through 29.40, which is that daily top box. Once it got back through point of control, it's been testing this area for a while. Kind of once it got back through that POC and just tested that 30.31, it was enough to take out this little low, and we're starting to work through this little spot here. The next spot is this 29, 21, 22. No new information at the moment. Looks like it's starting to work its way above this 28. We'll see if this can kind of trend back into this above this 33. If it gets up to 34, 35 again without making any new lows here, I think it would be a good, maybe another attempt at this long side. So this is a chart that on the left-hand side are just these moving average clouds with the TAS boxes and like a VWAP in there. 60 minutes, 15 minutes. I watched this basically when they break through these kind of crossovers to see who's in control. We are seeing,
these merging together, these moving averages, kind of clouds moving together and crossing. If we do get back through 07, 2900, we could see kind of a run on these lows across of this and maybe to put us to the downside. But we're also merging here from a bit of a cross to the upside, and we see that on the 15-minute time frame it broke out of 15. So trend was trying to maybe change on these last runs down to 2900. If we can get back through 40-ish, that daily top box, and work our way back up, I do think this is going to add to the momentum to the upside and allow this to carry its way to maybe trade towards that 3,000. What this is saying is that this might be support here. If we do break this 26 area, we could easily see this retrace back down to 15, 11 before we hit this resistance again. So that's kind of in line with our support that we talked about on a 15-minute time frame. But when it kind of breached through that this early morning, that was kind of a pop on a very short term. Now we're trying to get through these previous highs. So again, I don't lean on this as something that, it's in the forefront of my mind for all my updates and stuff like that, but it is definitely something that I reference from time to time, and we'll share that. All right, so we saw this kind of pullback, kind of failed move higher. And what's also interesting is that, we had a lot of this buying that came in here, okay, ahead of the open at these levels, and we got a little bit of a squeeze on that, and maybe they still thought they had a chance when this thing started breaking higher, and when it kind of failed, it helped to this downward trend. So there's still some baked in buying. And if we look at I put this shot in the trading floor very early in the morning, kind of just a bigger picture zoomed out on Jigsaw, all this buying that came in the overnight, okay? And what I really focused on this is this is at interval 50. What you can do on Jigsaw is you can make whatever interval you want, and that basically is just gets further out, and this allows us to see all the way back and some of this move. And we have 29.30 as kind of a big buying spot here in line, and when that broke down, those are bigger buyers that are support. That's the philosophy of bigger buying. 25, 26 is this location where we had a lot of big buying and a lot of big selling, so it's kind of a range of this support. And that's why I say if we break kind of 25, 24, could lead us moving down maybe to this 20 or this 17 where this big buyer came in. I highlighted this arrow because it's kind of our, you see big seller that came in, pulled back, big buying stepped in, put pressure on this seller. Okay, this is kind of how I use Jigsaw. Broke that, then you stimulated big buying, so you're thinking, all right, if we break down too far, we're leaning on this as support. This comes in, maybe it's now the next seller is trying to push down, they're getting squeezed, and this is kind of the trailed risk that you could use along the way. And then when this one finally breaks, we start seeing this thing rotate back down. So this is all in the middle of the night, but I go back and I try to see these levels because clearly on this break of this kind of 30.29 led to this pressure on this 25 that we're watching right now. So I thought it was easier just to bring that in to try to, instead of zoom this chart out and try to find that. And that's what we're knocking on the door right now. You can't see that at the moment, but that's right where this 25, 24 was, the break to that upside setup. So if we have some other, I think, TAS boxes in line with that we highlighted. Let me take a look. So around the other side of this, we're putting pressure on this 25, 24. All right, so as we broke this 26 half, getting back below this 26, 27, the short pace is picking up, and we're getting into, we talked about that 22 kind of being that 50% of a breakdown from this kind of 32 area. All right. There's a lot of different locations. I know I haven't really highlighted a direct buy or sell anywhere. I'm just processing the information, kind of just going through this. I think the big spot that we highlighted as kind of a breakdown of support was this 30 half POC that we opened above. We broke that, and now I said if we started breaking through this open price could lead to more bearishness coming in, and we're going to look to target this 12-13 area. We're back close to the open of the overnight around this 19-18 area. That's going to either act as support or we'll break through that. We got the point of control from the overnight at 13, so that's kind of the support area in play. We have the opening range, which 30-second opening range, which we tend to look for bullish or bearish bias. It tried to break above this, failed to hold, worked its way through the mid in the VWAP and some of that 31-32 area we talked about, and we've rotated down to the 2x area. We're now starting to get bigger buying and selling stepping in. I think this is balanced. It's blue and red, but I think it's big enough that I think if we continue to put pressure on it, it's going to squeeze us down even more and maybe into this 14-15 area. But if you were short from above, maybe this made you scale out of a few. If we got on the other side of this spot, maybe you added. We talked about 25-24 as a spot that we basically held with that previous big buying as a spot, maybe as a confirmation for another short in line with this bottom box. Now we see if we get below this 19-18, maybe we'll see another run down to this 14 location. This is the 4-hour box, 29.21 quarter. I believe I drew a line right there on the 4-hour prep. When we work our way back through boxes, it tends to pick up the momentum. We mentioned that this would be maybe a break of support. We talked about support being right here. It's not out of the question that we won't bounce right here, but we're looking to see if we can trade down to the 16 and see what kind of support will come here on this point of control. If we start breaking this 16 quarter, we're looking to get back down towards 2,900. It's it's 16 points is not a crazy move, but it's sizable. It's a nice trade if it gets down there. We're seeing Navigator bearish, crossed over, getting below this negative line. All right, so we're just hit that 15, 16. We talked about this area right here being a bit of a volume hole. We showed it on the 15-minute chart. We worked our way back through this 24.25, this previous top box, which tends to be a bearish indicator back towards point of control. We're starting to get new levels trying to form here, but if you look at these levels here, traded back below this bottom box through point of control right on this bottom box. So this should be maybe a supporting pivot play here around this 28.09 quarter. We talked about the weekly high volume. If we get back above 18, 19, this 20 on this move, maybe we'll start seeing us work our way back up, and then it really becomes 24.25. Does it hold this and then we rotate back down and challenge these lows, or will we start working our way back up? So the bearish hypo played through. We had a bullish breakout, and that probably stopped you out, or maybe you were able to scratch out of that, or maybe you didn't even take it. But we did get back below this 31.32, rotated lower, broke this bottom box, and filled in the volume hole. Once we got kind of on this other side of these sellers, it had a chance to pop, but once it got not enough to really pressure them to break 29.40, we saw that big offer there. And then when it started getting through this technical low, and then obviously 28 put the pressure on, and then 24, 25 we talked about as the next spot. Then with the 21 area on 4-hour boxes, and then 16 on the point of control, we're seeing this momentum build here. Took us all the way through this high volume spot down to this high volume spot. And I'll share that chart in the room, just kind of a So kind of the failed breakout we talked about. Once it started getting through this 32, immediately thinking bearish on the opening range. We had a couple other factors we talked about. Broke down, hit 1x, couldn't break this point of control midline here or back into the open. Took out this low, and then we hit 2x, 3x, and now we're at the 4x of this range. It's a pretty tight range. Almost 5 points, but able to see us quickly run to the downside. Yesterday's open is right around here, so maybe we do come down there and target around that area. Maybe we don't. We talked about 08, 09 being kind of the high volume spot for the week, so we'll see if that holds as support. On a move like this, when we're outside of current levels, you can start looking at, or I start looking at different shorter time frames. This is just a 1 minute. You see, it's expected to see that this is going to be oversold. We really have not too much to lean on until this 29.21 area. Kind of this, you see this distribution looks like this. So we could see maybe an uptick here and pull back, and then if we break this, maybe an uptick to this 27. So 21 which is right in line with this high volume spot, and then 27.28, which is right in line with this high volume spot. So you can really see on the 1 minute time frames with TAS, with this market map profiling, kind of where these volume spots occur. So kind of a good complement to each other. You can't tell if this is buying or selling though. I'm sure there's different histograms that you can do that, but you know, this displays it so much easier to me, and I know a lot of people that have just recently joined are having a tough idea of what I'm pointing out and following along, but it doesn't happen in a blink of an eye. It takes some time. It's the repetition, seeing it over and over. You shouldn't be trying to trade what I'm throwing out there in the room blindly. You need to get access to these tools maybe, or just kind of go through some of the educational processes that they all put out there. They're all third-party vendors, and then kind of get used to looking for them and seeing them day in and day out over and over and over, and that will help you get comfortable with understanding what they are. Got the question, are we still bearish? Yeah, I think we're gonna try to highlight, maybe if we get above this 21, we could see a pop move into this 27. This needs to hold as resistance. On the day, the trend is down, I think, and we're below the open, so I think bears are in control. Okay, so anything that's long is against the current at this point. So yeah, I think you could look to maybe try to sell a position here. I'm not saying to do this. Mentally, just think, if you were getting short right here, well, you're going to lean on this volume spot, this 20 or this 22, in this short-term downward cycle. Okay, are we bearish? I mean, to me that's a tough question to ask in terms of overall. If you go out to like a daily time frame, we are on this bullish trend, so these kind of dips have been bouncing back. So it kind of just depends on your perspective and time frames of what you're trading. I mean, we've sold off this major move, we've bounced back. We're right on this very important level, this 29.40 here, the daily top box. We've got 3 days where we're trading right around this. We just got hit with kind of imbalanced buying. So if you're looking to short a position, I'd wait to see if 18 gets tested and you kind of jump on this downside, right? Right now we're trying to, this 21 area is looking to try to get challenged. If this breaches, we could look to maybe run higher. So I would probably be looking for a bearish trade back through 18, 17 to try to get back down and take new lows. It may only get down to 14, 15 and then come back around, but there's a good chance that more information comes out, more sellers come in, and we make a new low here. All I can go by is what information that we have, but this looks like it could be the backstop for a long trade back to 28. So do you want to get long here? That's the question. I mean, I don't have an answer. I don't know what the market's going to do. I recognize this is a support spot. We're trying to maybe get back through this volume hole. The VWAP's at 24 and 25, so we have some good resistance potentially right here that this will bounce off of. So this could be bullish up to this point and maybe pull back. Definitely this 28, I think, may try to hold us some resistance in this technical area here. So I would lean for maybe looking for maybe a short on this downside, unless we start getting some more buying support coming in, which could backstop us to the upside. But if that breaks, it just makes this level that much stronger to the downside. I do think if we fight back and get back to 38, 39, 40, there's a long there. That's definitely in line with that daily breakout that we talked about. And
there may be some information to front run ahead that, but I'm thinking longs really taking control back around 37 to 38, 39. And until then, bears are in control. This 30-minute time frame, this navigator down here is green, and I've used to call this as which way is the wind blowing. Okay, it's bullish green right now, so bulls are in favor. Doesn't mean that this was in favor right here, and we had this major sell off here, but it's upward trending, or this action gave you the momentum that the bulls were in control. We got almost down to this 29.10 and this 28.09 area. This 22.5, we just traded up to that. That's the previous bottom box. So kind of we often see these boxes break down, retest, hold as resistance, and then maybe attack the lows and move lower. So that this break of this price that we just talked about is in line with that kind of methodology, and we could see this work its way back down to 29.10. If we make another test of this 22.5, 23, and we start getting back into boxes, that's bullish, and we're going to try to see if we can get to 28. So we're right on a spot where we've been upward trending on this recent move. This would be kind of an imbalance to the downside. We'd see us maybe pivot back up. But this is a volume hole that we're in, and maybe we're going to just kind of rotate around here a little bit to fill this in until we get more longs or shorts to either see who gives up and pop one way or the other. So if you are trying to participate in this short we just talked about, leaning on maybe this previous spot or this seller coming in, you're a few points in your favor. We just got hit with another seller here. You need to use that as your trailed risk, because if we start working our way back above this 18 quarter now, 18 half, this is a seller that just came in, that if that fails, that's going to be enough fuel for this to probably get through 22 half. So if you give it a little bit of room, maybe to this 22 half area, maybe right around here. If you were in a bigger than normal size, maybe I would have some really short-term trailed risk to your entry and maybe peel some of that off, because that seller coming in is not going to help your case. And as you see, we're quickly moving higher as that seller got absorbed. That's a perfect example of a seller coming in, getting absorbed, hitting a wall. Does not mean that this short idea is still not wrong. I mean, we still could hold this area here and rotate back down, but immediately you saw this move like 3 points once that got absorbed. There was enough time to take action, to get out, to peel some off. And that's what I try to recognize. If you're still in a partial position with your original risk, hold it, see if it'll go. You can always put more positions add a position back on. But let's say you trade on a 3 lot, you see that happen. Maybe you take 2/3 off of a scratch. You don't. Maybe you're maybe moving out on missing out on a big move if it works out. But you can always put those other 2 back on. So I was unable to get through this 22 half on that little uptick, and we'll see if sellers pick up the pace here or if this is going to hold as support. We've got this point of control spot right here around 21. this high volume and this seller here. So if we hit 21, could see this run up back to 28. All right, so I think we watched this kind of 21 for bullishness to work our way back up. If we're starting to try to take through this technical low, this 16, this seller that came in. We really need to see if this 12 breaks. There's probably going to be more information that comes in that we can follow. I think there's a 3 to 10 point move maybe here on the upside, kind of this cluster of volume coming in, this volume hold the upside. So that's what I'm watching. I would not be surprised if we get through these technical lows and this high volume here and put some pressure on 04, 05 area as well. Okay, so that's in the realm of possibilities. But I think if we do get a little too, if we make another run without this really testing this low, these sellers that have recently come in, I think are going to maybe puke out and we see a quick run to 28. But if we don't, I mean, it could definitely trade 21, 22, and then buyers step in, get absorbed, and rotate down. But that's why you have to recognize that tool kind of in real time, what's going to happen. So that's what I'm watching here. I know that the information I'm giving you guys is, I've got some people raising their hands that it's just too much, too fast to make a decision on. And obviously that's not my goal. But there's a lot of stuff here to learn. And I think what we're trying to do is just decipher this in real time and what's happening and try to give some commentary to it. And maybe we find a clear spot to get long or short. I think some of the bearishness setups that we talked about this morning were clear to me. Whether you're using me to tell you to get long or short should not be the case. I mean, I'm just kind of a guide out there, kind of giving you some of my hypotheticals and some insights to maybe some plays. You need to have understanding of these tools and what they do to help guide your decision. And at the end of the day, you're pulling the trigger. I'm not an advisor, okay? I'm happy to give you my recommendations and thoughts,
but I'm not holding myself out there as an advisor. I can't compliantly do that. It's just this educational in nature to try to learn these tools. And if we discover things through the process, then that's great. I think the idea is you equip yourself with these same tools, or many people find me because they are using these tools and trying to find some assistance. So there's a combination of people who find me that have never used these and want to learn them, and then other people that have been using them for a long time and having a little my take on them is what's helping them. So know what camp you're in. If you're in the camp of not knowing what this stuff is, then it's going to take some time to get you're like a white belt. It's going to take some time and some training and assistance to get you to the capable level of being able to know the defense and throw some attacks. If you've already been using these tools for a long time, you're more clearly more advanced in what they say and what they use. Maybe some of my tweaks to the tuner and how I look at some of the TAS tools, it completely is a light bulb moment for you. And I encounter people that I think who have been using the tools for a long time and struggling. They find me, and then I think that's the best scenario. Is like, wow, that's a different way of looking at it. It's slightly different than what I thought, or maybe had gotten these habits of doing. I have something new and exciting that I can use. If you're starting from scratch, that doesn't mean we can't work together. I've helped a lot of people start from scratch. You just need to recognize that, and you can't expect it to dive into these beginning live streams and try to keep up. And I'm sorry that it is a little fast, digesting a lot, but it's the live stream is intended for those who can get to that point. So I think it just means you're going to do some coursework, engage with me. I'll do everything I can to help explain stuff to you. I'm going to come out with more structured stuff in time. There's a lot of resources already out there. As I mentioned, my YouTube page, Market Profile Advisory, if you go to volume profile playlist, I go through a lot of these TAS tools and jigsaws belaboringly to kind of explain a lot of these points. So just want to, if you're watching this on recording, thanks for making it this far. If you're attending the live stream and you've heard me say this a dozen times, I apologize, but I think it's really important to kind of reiterate that. So we're going to wrap things up in just a moment here. We've gone a little bit longer than normal, which is totally fine by me, if and when we have reasons to. We're right on this point of control spot, just traded above it. Needs to hold above this 16 area, this technical low. Really needs to break 22, 23. We see that on this VWAP. This is the resistance here. This midline's 25. So that's the upside resistance spot that we're watching. We'll see if this quick little break through 21, 22 area, kind of putting pressure. We talked about this seller came in looking for bullish pressure on them. It could have had a head start if you're at this 17, 18 level, okay, 2 or 3 points ahead of this already. But if you're kind of leaning on this kind of point of control area to be breached around 29, 21, this is in play right now. And we're seeing this starting to challenge this 23. We'll see if we get more information that can step in. If this gets hit with big blue buying, that's bullish in hopes that it goes up, but it would mean that it's absorbed, and that's where you're showing your risk behind. If we get red selling coming in, well, that could hold and push us lower, but it's a confirmation if we get above it that those sellers are going to get squeezed. And if you have more bullets in the chamber, maybe you peeled some off, that's where you could look to add a couple. We may get nothing. We may just kind of drift back up and then boom, come right back down. I have no clue. I do not pretend to know that I know what's going to happen. All right, so we tested this top box. It's pulling back. We need this 21 to 20 area to hold. Kind of a standard TAS type setup. If it gets back to 23 quarter, could kind of starting to create a little bit of an upward trend. Look to fill this whole area. Doesn't seem too promising at the moment in terms of big volume trying to step in to give us more information. It's kind of just drifting up to this level and could just kind of rotate back down to this 18-17 spot. But as we mentioned, this is the VWAP is something that's updating. It's trying to work its way through VWAP. Midline would be this 25, 3/4, 26 spot. So that's the next kind of maybe upside resistance. 32 would then be the next upside spot. 37 is when we start getting on the bullish side of the open, which is back where this big volume came in. And if we do get up there, that could be considering some more position adds. All right, thanks for the chats there, guys. Glad you're finding this useful and helpful. Again, that's my goal, to build a community with people that have proper expectations, willing to do the work, and understand there's no guru out there that's just gonna be able to call out everything. I'm just watching this information in real time, and I'm just trying to kind of give my commentary and thought processes because I've used it for such a long time. And if that can allow you to grab on something to learn the tool or help with your trading, that's the goal. And once we get more people that come in and are able to be on the same page and get an idea of what I'm trying to convey, they can maybe help me articulate it, help the learning curve of the pack. But then we'll start sharing charts and start looking at things as a group. When I'm maybe not as actively posting things, others can step in. I mean, that's the true community. But obviously, I want to be the leader of that. I've been using it for a long time. I was a broker for 13 years, which may mean nothing to some people, but I actively worked and groomed traders to use this day in and day out for a long time. And now I've branched off from that, so I'm not being held to some of those compliant restrictions from a trading firm would hold over a broker. I'm definitely still going to be compliant in what I'm trying to produce out there, just because that's the only way that I believe you should do anything. But the goal is to be more focused in a community and educating and trying to trade and build courseworks and maybe even prop environment after that. I mean, we'll do this for a year and see how it goes. So I appreciate those that are involved, and I'm going to break away here. We're going to see if this can work its way up to 28. I'm throwing in a chart right now, kind of a screenshot of what we're seeing of this current chart in the trading floor. If you haven't joined the team as a premium member, I recommend that you do it. I think it's gonna go a long way to helping you out. We're on the verge of maybe getting things back in action with returning back to maybe somewhat normal life, opening
offices back up and people not working from home. So that may change some of the dynamics for some of you that are attending here or watching these. But I'm definitely going to be doing this premium room only morning live stream pretty soon to the premium community only, maybe only doing one or twice a week for free. So get that into your mind. If you're really ready to commit, think about it. We do a second live stream around 1:45. I want that to be more Q&A focused. So if you're new or have some questions, that's the focus of that one. So if you have questions throughout the day or things that I'm posting, know that that's the intention of the second stream each day, is to kind of address those questions. So thanks everybody. Glad you could make it, and we will talk to you guys later. Cheers.